As 2022 winds down, we are beginning to reflect on the year that was. That includes the highly anticipated revealing of Time's annual Person of the Year. Last year, it was Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who now looks to join former President Richard Nixon as the only person to win the award in consecutive years. Joining us now to reveal the rest of the Person of the Year finalists, executive editor of Time, Ben Goldberger. And we've been giving Ben trouble here because we think some of them are placeholders. I don't see some of these, but let's go over the short list, Ben. Okay, go ahead, John Hammond, you take it. Take the first question for Ben. But I think some of them are placeholders.
Ben, would you like to
explain?
Yeah, I mean, just explain to us the nature of the shortlist.
Yes, that's good.
What is the short list? What is the short list?
Okay, I'm going to read the short list. Hold on. This makes sense, Xi Jinping. This makes sense, the U.S. Supreme Court. This could make sense, Elon Musk. Liz Cheney, Volodymyr Zelensky, makes sense. Mackenzie Scott, yeah. Protesters in Iran, makes sense. Ron DeSantis makes no sense to me. Gun safety advocates.
In any, not just on this list.
By the way,
in general.
By the way, that was a blanket statement. No, but this is the most.
How about Janet Yellen? She makes sense to you?
No.
Not right.
No, although amazing.
List. I mean, yes, no diss to Janet Yellen, but you know.
Should we let Ben talk? I don't know. Yeah. We could just talk about him.
It's fun to just sit here and listen.
No, listen. So who's really the short list here?
This is the short list. I mean, as we sit down to begin the process of Person of the Year, we start really as summer gives way to fall. We have a huge staff-wide meeting, and the goal is to take stock of influence in all of its forms across all different types of newsmakers, of
negative
impact.
Or positive.
Well, I'm glad you said that earlier to your setup. I think it's often forgotten that Person of the Year is meant to be a recognition of influence, whether for good or for ill. Influence is not inherently positive, and it isn't an award, despite it being taken that way by a certain former president.
Why not Putin on the short list?
That's a really good question. I think despite what you were just saying, Jonathan, about Putin's incursion into Crimea, if anything, this invasion has exposed his relative lack of influence. He may be one of the world's primary aggressors, but his influence has only diminished. They were supposed to have captured Kyiv in, 3 days, according to U.S. intelligence? We're now nearly a year in, and he is less popular at home than he has been in many,
so
many
let's take the other side of that. Let's take the other side of that coin.
I was going to say, go ahead.
Let's take the other side of that coin
and say to invade the country was pretty significant.
No question there. But how is it not going to be Volodymyr Zelensky, who is someone who we know his story, comedian, television actor, who, because there was an expectation that the war would be over in a matter of days, people forget, back in January, February, there were plans to try to get him out of the country because this war was going to go so badly. Instead, he stood there. He is a Churchillian performance.
Galvanizing people to die for the safety of the world.
And which has led to also a revitalization of the NATO and Western alliance. How is it not Vladimir Zelensky?
You framed the choice for him really well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because there's a tremendous amount of influence among many of these other folks. We've talked about Xi briefly, but I think it's impossible to overlook what this year has meant for him. In October, he was elevated to an unprecedented third term, the most powerful leader of the world's most populous nation since Mao. He has an ironclad grip, and yet suddenly is facing really, really serious dissent over his zero COVID policy, which has economic ramifications for the world.
Amen.
I just want to say, short list, 10 entries. It's not very short.
That's not a short list. There's some placeholders there.
That's not a long list. There's a lot of
consequential people in the world.
Explain Ron DeSantis.
There's a lot of constituent service going on there. Ron DeSantis. She was a make him explain Ron DeSantis.
I can't.
I don't. She doesn't mean. I don't mean existentially.
Right.
I mean explain his presence on this
that
list.
Would be good too.
No, I can't do the Dow of DeSantis. But his presence on the list is because he won re-election in a massive landslide. He flipped Miami-Dade, and much to the chagrin of a prominent former constituent, is on the cusp of really being the front runner for the Republican nomination.
So Zelensky is on the cusp of winning the largest land war in Europe against a country 10 times its size. That's the victory that he has in his sights. Ron DeSantis won Miami-Dade County, so those are kind of like the parallel. In terms of influence, those are the kind of things we're really talking about.
It's a challenge.
I mean, Miami-Dade, I don't want to dismiss Miami-Dade, but it's not like winning World War III.
This is my 7th year leading Person of the Year, and I'll say we do a lot of apples and oranges comparisons.
I was going to say, that's more like apples and watermelons, but yeah, go on. Yeah, sure.
Fair enough.
Are you going to come back?
I'd love to.
Okay, good. We're really giving him a lot of trouble here.
You know.
You do a good job, Ben.
Thank you.
Okay, Times
Well, I'm
executive
withholding
editor.
judgment until we see who wins.
Until we see who wins. Okay, we'll have him back if he'll come back. Ben Goldberger, thank you very much. We'll find out who the magazine's names its 2022 Person of the Year on Wednesday. We look forward to that. And